It's long and it's in depth, and I think it's a really important read. Give us the big takeaway to get people thinking about this story and enticing them to read it, because I think it's really important.
Yeah, gosh, there's so many things going on. I think like one big takeaway is that when we're talking about opposition to data centers, when I pitched this story back in January, I was noticing a lot of folks in the AI space and in the energy space kind of dismiss data center opposition as just NIMBYism, right? It's like, oh, people just don't like new things in their backyards. People are really concerned about electricity. They're erroneously concerned about water. And the two things that made me kind of sit up and take notice is, first of all, for those of us that have watched the opposition to renewable energy, we know that like a lot of the so-called NIMBYism comes from like a very bipartisan and populist space. I actually reported a couple years ago on the Summit CO2 pipeline resistance, where I went to a meeting that was chaired by both the Sierra Club and Steve King, the congressman who was ejected from Congress for being really racist. It was like really fascinating to watch those two sides of the coin coalesce and oppose an industrial energy project. And then the other thing I was noticing is that some of the first politicians I was keeping track of, like more than a year ago at this point, when I first started thinking about how data centers could be a big deal, were right-wing populists like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie, who were the first and only people to put together the idea that Trump's, the Republicans' kind of 10-year moratorium on state-level AI policy could be used to force through data centers. That was something they were publicly talking about. And they were the only people I saw publicly talking about that. And so I thought, I think this is both bigger than just garden variety NIMBYism and also going to really quickly encompass both parties in a way that is incredibly important. So